Salutations, Legion of Doom. Welcome to Podcast The Storm, where crazy weirdo, socially awkward outcasts, crazy weirdos, all about nerds convene, talk, and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the nerdy occultist, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Hello, folks. It's loneliness season again,
And
or or romantic season for all of the actually well-adjusted people in the world. But let's be honest, they're probably never gonna watch the show, but we can try.
I am your host last time on Wannabe, the Brainstorm Pop Culture. How's everyone doing tonight?
I'm not feeling as much existential dread over being lonely as I usually do around Valentine's Day, which is good. I guess that's what happens when you almost die from drug withdrawals for a second time.
Right. Yeah, so, Dalton will explain that in a sec. I just want to say sorry for not being here for like 2 weeks. First week was just because it was the last Sunday of the month of January, which we were unable to do because we had run out of hours for StreamYard.
Yeah, because StreamYard only allows you to have a certain number of hours per month
Uh,
before they make you pay for it, and
20 hours, and I could have gotten more if I had signed up for something for money, like a whole thing. It's like pay to win deal.
hmm
And if any gamers here know that,
yeah, pay to play.
yeah. The second week, however, was due to personal issues that arise. Dom, would you care to explain?
Okay, so for those that don't know, I have a medication pump in my abdomen that runs all the way to my spine. That constantly drips essentially what amounts to an antispasmodic muscle relaxer into my spinal fluid. And the problem with it is that every 5 years, the battery on the pump needs to be replaced, and therefore they need to open me up and replace it with another pump. Um, but the most recent time they did that, for some reason, the surgeon got it into his head that I needed a bunch of extra cord in there, and that the pump itself didn't need to be tacked down. And the cord then proceeded to spiral every time I moved, basically, to the point that he said it looked like a phone cord when he had to open me up a second time to fix it, and the cord kinks when it curls like that, and the medication doesn't get through all the way. Well, apparently, this past week, it started curling like that again, which meant that I was going through drug withdrawal symptoms, which basically meant that I didn't sleep for 3 days solid because my legs were spasming like a motherfucker, which, for those who need an illustration of what that actually entails, my tendons were essentially acting like rubber bands that had been stretched too far, to the point that if I tried to straighten out my legs, they would coil back up again, kind of like a rubber band that had been stretched too far. And my knees were locking up, kind of like the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz after he hasn't been oiled for often enough. And so, yeah, I didn't sleep for 3 days. I was constantly having spasms, and eventually it started with itches, because itching is a probably the most common side effect of drug withdrawals. Um, and as a result, I was absolutely miserable for 3 days, and we didn't get to do the show last Sunday because I was dying, effectively. Fortunately, I also can take the medication orally if the pump isn't working, and we did have some oral on hand from the last time this happened, so that was able to be resolved. But it took me 3 days to figure out I was going through drug withdrawals, because at first I thought I was just having one of my insomnia fits, because that happens, especially in the winter, because the barometric pressure does a number on my joints. But yeah, no, it was drug withdrawals. And I know because the second I took the oral medication, like an hour afterwards, the symptoms completely vanished, and I was able to finally fucking sleep. So, yeah, drug withdrawals, because medical fucking incompetence of not actually tacking the pump into place, and it seems to prefer being upside down because of how they laid it in me in the first place. Moving on.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I think this actually might be one of our shortest ones. Maybe. It's us, so it might not be.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
But you guys know the holiday-related drill by now, so you know what's coming.
Yeah. Everything that's coming out like tonight will happen.
Yeah, because for those who are watching this in the future for posterity, this year, being as it's 2022, the Sunday before Valentine's Day and Super Bowl Sunday coincided with each other. So tonight, while we're recording this, like, I can literally hear my family watching it in the other room. The Super Bowl is going on, which means all the Super Bowl trailers are going on in between the actual game. And that means that come March, we will have a bunch of trailers and things to react to. For example, they already released the second Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness trailer before the game started. And yes, I've seen it, and yes, I'm pissed off because they fucking are doing they're focusing way too much on the multiverse part and not nearly enough on the of Madness part. But that's something we'll get into when we cover it in a few weeks.
Anyway, this is something Dalton sent me. The Pagan Roots of Valentine's Day. This is from history.co.uk. Written by... It just doesn't have one. That I can see anyway. Shall we?
Yep.
Right. Every year on February 14th, the world marks Valentine's Day. Millions send messages and gifts of love to the people most important in their lives. Got nothing to say to that.
Well, and the other half of the population panic because they are lonely and they worry about dying alone and unloved because reasons.
Oh my God, Dalton. Pity is not a good look on you.
What? Am I wrong?
I personally don't care. This comes from a guy who's never had a date at all.
That's sad.
I mean, I was doing a lot of stuff, so dating wasn't really in the cards.
Yeah.
At the time, so plus there is really not anyone that I think in my city that I want to date.
Which is even sadder. An entire city's worth of people and not one worth dating.
It doesn't help that I'm constantly. I find myself usually surrounded by idiots in public.
At least I have the excuse of living in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Okay, to be fair, dating in modern day sucks.
Yeah.
Okay? It really sucks. So that's also why I don't do it, because I don't want to be dealing with a lot of fucking idiots.
Or vapid assholes who want nothing more than a one-night stand.
Yep. Or what's the word? Gold diggers, or just the various types of people that you don't want to date.
Yeah. Gold diggers, thoughts, and intersectional feminists. The trifecta
Dude,
of evil.
that last one honestly is the main reason, because I'm pretty sure like any woman that I try to talk to, like if I would ever go to, like, I'd say a bar, but I don't drink, so.
With your proclivities, what you should do is join a gym and then find the woman you can spar with.
Whatever. Anyway, moving on. Also, I just find it. Okay, this is my own personal thing. I find it incredibly stupid that we have to one day out of a year you tell someone special that you love them. Because if they really mattered, you'd say it and make it mean something every fucking day of the year.
Well, yeah, but Valentine's Day is for going that one extra step further.
No, it really isn't. The companies make you think it is.
Well, as we'll get into, it's not like they weren't filling a market or fulfilling the desires of a market when they did that.
I still just find it incredibly stupid.
Well, it's kind of like how Christmas is all about hearth and home and family and shit, and those are good things to appreciate at, all times of the year, but Christmas is the time of year you take it that one step further. And Halloween is about the respect for like darkness and death and shit, which is a good thing to remind yourself of, on any given occasion, but Halloween is the time of year you take that one step further.
Again, it's like one of those holidays that I really just can't be bothered to care about.
I don't know. I like holidays in general, so maybe
No,
I'm
yeah,
biased, but
it's just, again, like Halloween, Christmas, those holidays I'm fine with. Or 4th of July, those things, mainly because there's more activity to it.
mhm.
Valentine's Day just, I don't know, it's just vain to me. It's very vain. Again, that's my own personal thing. Like, I don't like it, not because like I've been scorned on it or anything. It's just I find it incredibly.
Well, you're the kind of person who doesn't really like big elaborate gestures at all,
Oh no, I
mostly.
do. I do.
So,
No, I do. I just think that can be done any day.
and again, my justification would be just like with every other holiday, all the values that all the other holidays stand for are good values to hold year round, but how the holidays are the days you take it that one step further. Like instead of getting one rose, you get a dozen roses, or instead of getting one chocolate, you get a box of chocolates, or so on and so forth. In the case of Valentine's Day.
Again, it's my own personal thing. I personally don't like it. I think it's just because, again, it's the reason why I don't like a lot of certain holidays that isn't Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't like a lot of things that like a lot of other people like. Is, again, the overblown nature of it.
And again, I tend to favor grand gestures a little bit more.
No, no, no,
That
no,
doesn't
no,
bother
no,
me.
no, not grand. I'm not talking about the grand gestures. I'm fine with those. I like those. The overblown nature of it. How so many people put so much stock in it. Like it's the end all be all of days for romance. That's my problem.
And again, my thinking with that is it's always been this way, so it's sort of
Well, it's stupid. Okay? I think it's stupid. I think we just got to move on because I think we're just going to be going back and forth on this all night.
uh-huh.
You'd be forgiven for thinking the 14th has its roots in the Christian faith, with the day seemingly named after Saint Valentine, a priest who lived during the 3rd century AD. However, many historians believe that the day originated from the Roman pagan festival of fertility called Lupercalia, an event filled with animal sacrifice, random coupling, and the whipping of women. Not quite the romantic chocolate and roses day that we celebrate today.
Well, not if you summarize it like that, no, but that's sort of cherry picking all the worst aspects of it.
I mean, to me,
There's
animal sacrifice was a whole thing.
yeah, it's also worth noting that certain aspects of Valentine's Day also come from the Veneralia, or the Festival of Venus, that typically happened around April 1st, because Venus being the goddess of love and all of that rot, and just like certain aspects of Easter probably have their roots in the Bacchanal, which was the festival of wine and fertility of Bacchus and Dionysus and so forth. But yeah, in the case of Valentine's Day, they kind of doubled up between the Lupercalia and the Veneralia. What one assumes, because they're so similar in the various ways, they just sort of merge them together for convenience's sake, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lupercalia was a major festival on the Roman calendar and was commemorated every year on February 15th. It was held in honor of the gods Faunus and Lupercus, the gods of agriculture and fertility. It also honored the mythological founders of Rome, Romulus and Remus.
From which we get the word romance. In case anyone didn't put two and two together there. We get the word romance from Romulus.
I thought it was just Roman. No Rome.
Well, and Rome gets its name from Romulus. So yeah.
Not really anything to say to that. So, in the morning, the priest of Lupercus, Lupercus, known as Luperci, gathered at Lupercal Cave, the place where Romulus and Remus were said to have been cared for as babies by a she-wolf. I already know the story of Romulus and Remus. I studied it during summer school. I fucking hated summer school. The cave lay at the foot of the Palatine Hill, the spot at which the brothers were believed to have founded Rome. Again, I don't really have anything to say to that. It's just background.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have anything on.
No.
In a representation of fertility, and because Lupercus was a god of shepherds, 2 male goats were sacrificed in the cave. This was followed by the sacrifice of a dog to represent purification, and because dogs often guard the flocks. Okay. I don't really have anything to say. I think it's kind of weird that they sacrificed a dog, but then again, back then they sacrificed a lot of animals, also humans. So I'm not really.
Well, human sacrifice was actually rarer than a lot of people are led to believe.
Well, okay, I'm more aware of it because of the Incan, Maya, and Aztec.
Yeah.
And I'm aware that was a major thing in their culture for a while.
Yeah. Although even they mostly did it during eclipses because they thought the sun was dying, and
Okay,
they they essentially offered up the life energy of the sacrifices to replenish their solar deity's energy.
fair, but still. Um, Blood taken from the sacrificial knife was then smeared across the foreheads of two naked Luperci. Uh, the knife was then wiped clean with a piece of milk-soaked wool. I will say this: the old rituals, as important as I'm sure they could be or perceived to be, whatever
Hmm.
the case be, are really like are weird. Which that's just the world. Okay, world's weird. I understand that, but also are just excessive. Okay, maybe excessive isn't the right word, but just has a lot of steps to it. You know,
Hmm.
this makes you really question how they um, came to these conclusions of how to do these for these rituals. You know,
In most cases, probably because their gods told them that that's what they wanted.
again, it just seems like a lot. Like I get sacrificing the animals. I totally get that. But wiping smearing it across two naked people's foreheads and then wiping it in a milk soaked wool, like I don't know. It's just again, it seems
It's supposed to convert the sexual energies of like the wolf's vitality into more like benign, what we would call romantic energy. That's the purpose of the elaborate ritual bullshit.
okay, fine. It's again, to me, in my modern sensibilities, it's weird.
Well, I mean, it once you start pulling those threads, then it gets into the 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 aspects of like modern culture that's really fucking weird when you get right down to it. Like,
Fair point, fair point. But again, it's both excessive and uh, yeah, like you said, very elaborate. Elaborate, you know. In a way, it just makes you really question.
well, to be fair, Lupercus was a wolf god, so I imagine some of this was probably motivated by the fact of we don't want to be eaten by fucking wolves.
Okay, again, fair. I'm just pointing that out.
Hmm.
Anyway, histories. Unless you have anything else to add.
No, we can move forward.
Okay. Um, Historians have suggested that this ritual is the reason why Valentine's Day is associated with the colors red and white. Red represents the blood from the sacrifice, whilst white represents the milk on the wool that wipes the knife clean, signifying new life.
There's also something to be said again for the conflation between the Lupercalia and the Veneralia, because um the red of Venus was considered to be the red of vaginal blood during a woman's period, basically.
Okay. Thank you for that image, Dalton. Also, sorry, Edinburgh, I did not see your comments till now. Says, how's it going? And when I was talking about like the overblown nature of the holidays, like Arbor Day, yeah.
Honestly, that's one of the only ones that I'm thinking we could stand to be a little bit more appreciative of trees.
Actually, you're not wrong there. That's true.
I mean, not to go full druid or anything, but like goddamn, we really don't pay much attention to trees anymore. Especially
Actually,
when you consider that historically the Celts literally like worshipped them.
yeah, well, humans are stupid. Let's not forget that. But
This
I actually remember. I actually wonder if it's still around. When I was in elementary school, I helped planted a tree.
hmm.
I wonder if it's around. I wonder if it's still around. Hmm.
Well, if you know where it is, you could presumably go and look at
Within,
some point.
literally within walking distance of my old schools, most of them.
Hmm.
I literally could walk there and check. But it's iced out, and I
Yeah,
don't have sneakers. I would
yeah.
literally,
February is a motherfucker.
yeah. I just remembered, like, well, I say just, but I remember this like a couple days ago. But I was walking to my elementary school. Yeah, I'm remembering a memory from like over 20 years ago. I'm
Hmm.
walking. Yeah, so I'm walking. Not over 20 years, but over like a decade and a half, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was in first grade, kindergarten. I'm not. Either way, there's a tangent here, but I brought it up. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so my grandfather and I, we're walking, like he's taking me to school, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't have a functional car at the time. And also, again, I'm like slowly like 15 or so, or 10 minutes
Mm-hmm.
walking distance, maybe even less,
Yeah.
um, to that school. And uh, we also will like at the time there was like this area that you cut across like between the houses and the alley to like get to the other side of the block.
Mm-hmm.
So like you didn't just have to go like in a round circle or an oval.
Mm-hmm.
Save time and all that. Um, Now it was fine for most of it, like in the grass, and like even during the sidewalk. I mean, it was a little slippery there, but I kept my balance. It was when I got to the road to cross, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind, I'm like, okay, first grade or six when I went to kindergarten. So I'm like 7 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second like I'm getting there, I'm getting on the, well, and then like, I don't know when it happened, but I slipped and fell and I think I hit my back of my head on like the curb of the sidewalk or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I don't remember really anything. I don't think I was in the. No, I wasn't in the hospital. I think I got up and I went to school, but like most of that day just kind of blacked out for me.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, I think I was even on the ground for like a minute or something. Like I just remember
Mm-hmm.
hitting my head and then blacked out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine now, obviously. Just
Yeah.
I think that's why I also have like a weird. Is that why I have a weird dent in my back of my head?
Hmm.
Actually, I don't know if it's a dent or not. It could just be my skull. I don't know why, but I'm just getting uh, like a weird phantom pain from that. Like something that happened over a decade ago. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Ed Burr, not to derail, did you see the Doctor Strange trailer? Yeah, we did. Again, I don't think we really want to cover it here now or talk about it. Um,
We're gonna save all of the Super Bowl like the relevant Super Bowl trailers for like the first week in March
yeah,
when we get back to a normal schedule.
yeah.
That being said, I can tell you I hate it. I absolutely hated it, and I disdain that they need to stick the X-Men in the middle of it for some godforsaken fucking reason. Like, I don't object to the X-Men being there, and certainly not Patrick Stewart coming back, but it shouldn't be in a Doctor Strange movie. It should be in the Fantastic Four, because Reed Richards is always the one in the comics who discovers the multiverse. And the kind of multiverse that Doctor Strange deals with in the comics is not the parallel dimensions and alternate timelines multiverse. It's the higher plane than alternate you know, it's not the I can walk down the street and run into alternate versions of characters I already know kind of multiverse. It's the I can summon up a demon or an elder god variety of multiverse.
Yeah.
Like I've made this point a couple of times before, but Doctor Strange should be more likely to wind up in Wonderland or Flatland than he should in an alternate universe. So I'm very much annoyed with the fact that Multiverse of Madness is focusing way too much on the multiverse part and not enough on the of Madness part, i.e., the title Multiverse of Madness is supposed to be a reference to either H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness or John Carpenter's At the Mouth of Madness. And therefore it should be more Lovecraftian and Eldritch than it should be like sci-fi and multiversial and shit.
Anyway, I mean,
yeah, but I'll go into my further more detailed thoughts when it comes to that whole rigmarole when it's March. Anyway, back to the history of Valentine's Day and the Lupercalia.
Okay. Feasting followed this ritual, and after stomachs were full, the Luperci cut strips from the sacrificed goats called thongs. Not even gonna.
Yeah.
And dip them in the sacrificial blood. The Luperci then ran naked through the streets of Rome and whipped any woman within striking distance. Many welcomed the lashings, often revealing bare skin for the thongs to strike.
Because obvious phallic symbol is obvious.
The Romans believed that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't have anything to say, so I just carried on. Unless
Mm-hmm.
The Romans believed that the thongs could make childless women bear childless women's more fertile, whilst blessing pregnant women with the gift of an easy birth.
Yeah.
Blood from a goat to lash at someone, which would open a wound to scar them, which would also draw their blood. That's kind of I realize no one knew that at the time. It's still just, again, looking back on it, I wonder how many of these people got sick or something.
Fewer than you would think. The cleanliness standards of Rome were a lot better than the cleanliness standards of the Christianized Middle Ages, for example.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
Because in addition to losing massive amounts of knowledge in the Middle Ages, they also lost a bunch of cleanliness standards, to the point that the weekly baths that Jews were supposed to take for like religious reasons is something that people thought was weird and sacrilegious.
I take many baths a week. Wow, okay. It's amazing how stupid people can be.
Yes, it is.
Honestly, kind of makes me sad about Wait, was it the Christians that burned down the Library of Alexandria, or was that way before?
That was before the conversion. I want to say it was Visigoths that burned down the Library of Alexandria, or Mongols.
You know what? Part of me kind of want. I'm gonna look this up real quick, just because it's my curiosity.
Hmm.
I am also a firm believer of the Library of Alexandria. Had it stayed, we'd probably be better off, or at the very least, we'd be a little more advanced.
Yeah, we'd probably be a couple centuries more advanced if Alexandria hadn't fallen.
I wouldn't say better off simply because, you know,
As society advances, the problems just get larger.
yeah.
It's kind of like how everyone thinks that the creation of the nuclear weapon will prevent wars, but in actuality, all it did was make wars larger. Because,
Holy fucking shit.
hmm,
Um, wait. Was Julius Caesar.
God damn it, Julius.
Yeah, it's not even that sad that he got stabbed then.
Yeah, Julius Caesar was a royal dickhead of like historic proportions.
Okay, so. Okay, so. The first person.
Fortunately, his successor was much more stable. Yay, Augustus.
Okay, so apparently he burned like the ships that were cutting him off. Like set fire to the ships in the harbor, and it's kind of believed that the fire spread to the library and completely destroyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Again, at the very least, I cite the call. Yeah, we saw the trailer. We're just not covering it now. That's for next month.
Suffice it to say, it pissed me off, and it didn't even add that much new footage.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the article. Well, it makes me wonder, would Christianity be as big as it is now if we still have the Library of Alexandria?
I don't know. They probably would have just rebranded a bunch of the knowledge in the library for Christian purposes, like they did most other forms of knowledge. It's 1,000 years later when um, Roman knowledge was reintroduced by way of Byzantium.
Hmm. All right, moving on. Another custom during Lupercalia was the pairing of young Roman boys and girls. At some point during the festival, the names of young girls were written on bits of paper and slipped into a jar. Every young man would then pull out a girl's name from the jar. The pair would be coupled together for the duration of Lupercalia. Then they stayed together until the following year's festival. Some even fell in love and married. So it's kind of like the swingers party deal.
Yeah.
Keys in the bowl deal. And for the record, I only know that from Venture Brothers.
You know, there are times when I think you are simply too pure for this world, but then I remember you could probably beat me up, so I don't mention it.
To be fair, it took me a while to really get it. I had to watch the clip on YouTube and look at the comments to get it.
Again, too pure for this world. Please don't hit me.
Yeah, that's debatable. That's kind of an interesting. That's an interesting. It's interesting. technically yeah, no, it's just an interesting thing. I don't really know how to convey it in words.
Hmm.
I just can't think of how to like really describe what I think of it.
Hmm.
Like I lost my train of thought, I guess. So let's just continue on. Maybe I'll get him back to me.
Hmm.
As Christianity swept through the globe, many pagan traditions were absorbed and adapted into the Christian faith. Lupercalia was clearly a very popular thing in an environment where the ancient Christians were trying to close it down. Nolan Linsky, professor of classics and history at Yale, said in an interview with NPR. I don't
Yeah.
don't have anything to say.
This is, as you know, this is basically the second verse, same as the first historical uh, series of events.
Yeah. So there's reason to think that the Christians might instead have said, okay, we'll just call this a Christian festival.
Again, they did it with literally everything else, so it really wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, so in the 5th century AD, Pope Gelasius the First banned Lupercalia, and in 1496 AD, the Catholic Church declared February 14th a day to feast and celebrate the life of the martyred Saint Valentine, said to have been executed on the 14th of February 269 AD.
And once again, I find it kind of coincidental that they just happened to pull that date out of the hat. Kind of like how we know from the archaeological record that Jesus was likely born in the summer, but we still celebrate his birthday on what would otherwise be a Yule day because the ancient Christian church wanted to drain the juice out of Yule and solstice traditions.
Mm.
So again, second verse, same as the first, sing along if you know the words. Take the traditions that you can't stop people from celebrating and add a new skin to them and then claim it was yours all along.
It's weird. I've always taught that plagiarism was bad.
Yeah, well, if the ancient ancient Christianized Romans believed that, we wouldn't have half the holidays we currently do. So maybe it maybe it is a good thing that they did what they did because we might not still have these traditions if they didn't. And what's more, a lot of these traditions people believed that if they didn't celebrate them the world would end, and I kind of like the world not having ended, so yay.
Fair point. All right, moving on.
Yep.
With over 10,800 saints and multiple Valentines, uh, it's not officially known whether the stories about Saint Valentine were about one man or multiple men merged together. I honestly feel like the latter would be most probable.
Yeah, it seems likely, especially if multiple Saint Valentines existed.
Sorry, I am tired. I I think I've been up since like 6 today.
Mm.
Yeah, and usually would be around the time like actually that's kind of in my sleep schedule. I actually got a somewhat steady sleep schedule lately, so that's good. Uh,
Ditto.
oh, um, yeah, usually around now or around like 9 or so, or 10. Actually, pretty much around 10, I start to hit the bed.
Mm.
Ugh. Okay, so the most popular belief states he was a priest in the Roman Empire in the 3rd century, executed under the command of Claudius II for conducting marriages in secret after the emperor had outlawed them. Huh.
Outlawed marriage. Why and how would you even begin to outlaw marriage?
I mean, who knows why people do what they do?
Fair play, but still,
Well,
what
specifically, very stupid people. Let's be
What?
honest.
Yeah. What cockamamie emperor thought to himself, "I know what will make me a very popular monarch. I will
Um,
outlaw marriage."
I read
Uh,
when I was in school. I read one interpretation um, about it. It was actually from like this. I don't know. God, again, this was like when I was in elementary school. Um, I actually had some really cool teachers in there that actually tried to make learning fun and interesting.
mhm.
You don't get that anywhere else. Uh,
Yeah.
I lucked out in a few of my classes, um,
Mm.
or grades, I suppose. Um, but there was like this like one of those like children's books, but it actually had like painted portraits of it. It's like children's
Mhm.
storybook, but with like really detailed, like almost Renaissance style paintings
Mhm.
for the pictures. I don't remember what it was called though. It sucks that I don't. But it was a retelling of like we were doing this whole thing for February. Like we were just learning about Valentine's Day and the history of it and stuff.
Mhm.
Granted,
As you do.
granted, it was mostly the Christian stuff, obviously.
Right.
Uh, didn't really learn about the pagan stuff. Pagan wasn't even like a word to me at the time. And keep in mind, this was like 3rd grade, so
Yeah.
um, I don't think it's any fault of the teacher, though. I think that's just how things up, society and all.
Yeah. It,
Uh,
it, it, it was the early 2000s,
actually, kind
and it was for children, and you're not supposed to expose children to things that would make them question authority. How dare you, Derp?
of again, I was 3rd grade. I was like, I don't know, 6, 7, like 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was supposed to be. Okay, again, I'm trying to remember here. It's been a really long time. So
Mm-hmm.
um, shit. Like the outlaw of Christian marriages, to my knowledge. Granted, that could have been the interpretation of that. So not entirely sure. But
I
that's the
I
story.
I I I still have to shake my head in consternation and be like, why? What emperor sits there and thinks to himself, "Yes, I will outlaw marriage, and this will totally make me a better emperor, not a tyrannical tosspot." It's kind of like the gay marriage thing in retrospect. It's like, did anyone actually think that outlawing gay marriage would make them more popular or more moral as people?
Okay,
People
so,
people who people who outlaw things like the sanctity of marriage is just it, I can't sit here and think to myself there is any way I could pretzelize my brain into thinking that that was a good thing.
okay, so I found out the emperor's full name, and you're gonna love this.
Hmm.
Claudius II Gothicus.
Well, Monsieur Claude, you are a dickhead.
Somehow the Gothicus kind of makes sense.
Fucking emo menstruating emperor dickhead.
Yep. Anyway, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
The story goes that whilst awaiting his fate in prison, he fell in love with the jailer's daughter. After his sentence finally came through, Valentine supposedly left a farewell note to the young lady and signed it "From your Valentine." He then exited the jail and walked towards the most unromantic of ends: death by beating and decapitation. Why not just give him a? Why not just cut off his fucking head? Why'd you have to beat him? I'm not. That just again. That seems excessive to me.
Yeah, the like vindictive bloodlust thing of like, no, we can't just kill him. We have to make him suffer before we kill him.
Combine the two, stone him. You know? Fuck.
And even then, I'm just like, why don't you just poison him? Like you wouldn't even have to tell him about it. Just slip some poison into his food, like slip an inordinate amount of like sleeping drugs or whatever into his food, and then he falls asleep and then he's dead.
Oh, I can answer that. It's not public enough and it's not brutal enough for a crime.
Okay, but if the goal is you just want this person dead, and we all like every human on Earth mutually agrees that pain is to be avoided, and that pain in and of itself is kind of inherently inefficient. Just like find the most painless way possible to kill the fucker and kill him. Done. Then you haven't.
In this,
Then you, huh?
you're also forgetting this. This priest went against the emperor's orders, right? So an example,
Okay, but
must be made for others not to do what he did.
okay, but even
Brutal and it must be bloody in order to strike fear into other people who would follow his path to deter them from that.
I would say that's really, really fucking stupid, but this is the emperor who thought it was a good idea to outlaw marriage, so yeah.
Actually, no, I can totally see that happening. I mean, it wouldn't work for long, but it would work in certain cases, sure.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here like there's about 1,050 separate ways you could make this more efficient.
Yeah, you're thinking of this logically. There's clearly no logic behind
Like
it.
I'm all for indiscriminately killing some motherfucker sometimes, but like there's a difference between killing indiscriminately and just killing stupidly.
Yeah, you should, I don't know if it's stupid. I mean, kind of makes sense to me.
Again, my thinking is just slip fucking
That's not.
valerian root or whatever into his tea, and then he falls asleep and doesn't wake up. Or
That,
if you absolutely have to do the like public, you know, driving him insane thing, just do what you did. Just do what they did to Socrates and have him drink hemlock or something. Like that, then he publicly goes insane, and you could laugh at him as he goes insane from the fucking hemlock hallucinations.
yeah, look, Socrates was a philosopher. Valentine was just a priest who defied the order of an emperor. Totally different scenarios.
I actually think that if anything, the priest probably should have gotten off easier by the logic of the emperor, but
He's also
whatever.
Christian at a time when I don't think Christians were well appreciated. So
Actually, when did Constantine change the fucking state religion of the Roman Empire? That's a good question. Because I thought it was actually before this, but I could be wrong. It's one of the things that never really made sense to me about the Valentine story of like, didn't Rome already converted to Christianity like a century or so before this?
$337.
Okay, so about 50 years after this, then, is when the conversion happens. Okay.
Actually, no, not. Is it 50? I don't know.
If this took place in 259,
No, 270.
and okay, yeah, so 60 years, give or take.
No, 337. That's when it was converted.
Yeah, the conversion. So again, 60 years from 270 to 3 or 337. That's about 60 years.
I'm going to do quick math here because.
Well, 67 years, but yeah.
Yeah, 67. So, yeah, that makes sense why he would be brutally killed then.
Although I think this has less to do with religious bullshit and more just to do with the fact that Constantine, or not Constantine, but Claudius was a fucking thin-skinned moron. He was the Donald Trump of the Roman Empire, Roman Emperor.
Moving on. Whilst
Yeah.
we may never know the full truth about St. Valentine's origins, stories about him all emphasize his attributes as a heroic and potentially romantic figure. Maybe a convenient explanation for a Christian version of what happened at Lupercalia, Linsky states. However, the direct association of February 14th with overt romanticism and declarations of love doesn't seem to have started until over 1,000 years later during the Middle Ages. The famed 14th century English poet Geoffrey Chaucer, author of the Canterbury Tales, is often credited as the man who made the link. At that time, it was believed that European birds began to pair up in mid-February, specifically around the 14th.
Yeah, again, this is just yet another case of taking a pre-existing tradition and putting a Christian skin over it for the sake of giving us the excuse of being able to celebrate it. So
Yeah. Follow this was on Saint Valentine's Day. One every bird cometh there to choose his make. Chaucer wrote in his poem Parliament of Fools, uh, making one of the earliest references about St. Valentine's Day being a day for those in love. I will never understand Old English.
it's not that hard.
It's more so I don't want to because I'm good at speaking American English.
The entire nation of Britain just felt the disturbance in the forest every time someone says American English. 1,000 British people cry out in
Well, fuck them. They love
American
English.
accent.
Fuck them. We won the War of Independence. We deserve to have our own language. Other poets followed his lead, including Shakespeare. The Romantics retold history, converting the day into one about devotion, love, and courtship. From then on, it seems that budding lovers began to send romantic notes to their sweethearts on the Valentine's Day. Industrialization during the 18th century made things even easier for smitten couples with the mass production of illustrated romantic cards. Today's pagan roots were still very much on display with images of Cupid, Roman god of desire and love, often adorning the cards. It wasn't.
Mhm.
I mean, that technically isn't name. It's not. It's not the Roman. Is it the Roman or?
I the the Greek equivalent, I believe, was Eros.
Yeah, I knew
So
that.
yeah,
I knew that was. I knew that was that, but I wasn't sure.
so yeah, Cupid is Roman, I think.
Hmm. Um, God of desire and love, often on the cards. From there, the day gradually grew into the billion-pound industry that it is today. I don't really have anything else to say, so
Hmm.
Dalton, do you have anything? Or
Again, the only thing I have to criticize this author for is that they didn't mention the Vaneralia at all, or how those traditions kind of got conflated together.
hmm,
Because in the same way that Saturnalia was the Roman festival of Saturn, and the Bacchanalia is the Roman festival of Bacchus, aka Dionysus, the Veneralia was the festival of Venus, and I think a lot of the traditions um, of the Veneralia probably got combined with the traditions of the Lupercalia, and that's where we get Valentine's Day from.
hmm. Okay. Our next article's loaded up. Let me share that. This is from bustle.com. 8 Reasons Valentine's Day is Toxic. This is by Brandy Neal, published February 3rd, 2018.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so I'll play devil's advocate for me. Well, I'll play devil's advocate. While I don't necessarily like Valentine's Day as a holiday, I wouldn't necessarily call it toxic. I think people who over put too much emphasis on the holiday can become toxic. Sure, it all really depends on how you would define toxic in this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Case by case.
Yep,
Anyway, shall we?
we shall.
Between the burden of finding the perfect gift for your boo, the anxiety of finding a Valentine if you're single, and the pressure to spread love to people you don't even like, there are plenty of ways Valentine's Day is toxic AF.
Okay, I immediately hate this author so much.
Yeah, it's
If
like,
you
sorry.
if you can even bring yourself to use the phrase toxic AF, then you are toxic AF.
Um, sorry. Give me a sec. Yawning.
Mhm.
Uh, I've never really had the anxiety of finding a Valentine. Mainly because, again, I don't care enough to. And also, again, I'm not really in a rush to find someone.
I always feel extra lonely around Valentine's Day, but it's not really so much finding a Valentine as much as the focus, the like cultural focus on romance around Valentine's Day just reminds me of like the it makes that little voice in my head that goes, "You're probably gonna die alone."
Valentine,
it makes it louder.
That's how that voice is. Shut the fuck up. That's what I do. I don't hear it often, but when I do, I just tell it to shut up.
Yeah, I don't. My brain doesn't work like that. If I tell it to shut up, all it does is get louder because it gets anal retentive about me ignoring it.
Yeah. Yeah, like these things you're bringing up aren't really like super. Like, don't get me wrong, they can be overblown depending on the person,
Hmm.
but I don't know. They just like how are you getting these examples? Like what you know?
This is my issue with this author just already. It seems like the issue they're having with Valentine's Day is when people care about things, it puts extra strain on them. Like when people want to put more effort into something, that puts more strain on them. But the alternative is not caring about anything, and that
This is stupid.
yeah,
Um, Moving on, or
yeah,
anything else? Okay.
gone.
If you don't want to buy into the societal pressure of this heart-shaped holiday, it might help to think of it another way. Wednesday, which I guess was when Valentine's Day was in 2018.
Yeah,
In the age of everyone living out loud online, it's almost important to avoid having Valentine's Day shoved down your throat, which actually makes a strong case for February's social media detox. But yeah, I could the
uh,
social media detox. I could
yeah.
agree with.
This person though is just like is such a first world problems having hipster. I can't like even if their points are valid, I still find myself wanting to beat my head against a wall rather than
Yeah,
continue listening
it
to
does
them.
really. It does.
It sours the point, if there is even a point to be had.
I mean, to be fair, the first thing they mention is kind of what I do every year. Because again, I've never really celebrated Valentine's Day. I've just never seen the point of it. You can call it sad, but I just call it like living my life.
Well, but between this and your very like nonchalant approach to Christmas, I always feel bad for you around holidays. I don't.
Oh my god, dude, it is not that big of a deal. Okay, the Christmas thing was because there's nothing of interest for me to buy, so I needed to buy necessities. If there was a video game or something that I could have gotten, I would have gotten it. The Valentine's thing, again, I mostly am apathetic. And also, again, there's no one I'm. There's. It's incredibly hard to find a date these days because of how crazy it gets.
Fair play.
Yeah. Okay. Valentine's Day plans, like dinners, concerts, or events, are usually more public, talked about in conversation, and even shared on social media. Seeing and hearing about others sometimes is embellished or idealized accounts of their celebrations makes you
See, and this is actually one of the benefits I think of Valentine's Day because it's the one day a year when even the most prudish prude is allowed to be romantic. Like vocally and publicly. And quite frankly, this is one area where I think we could stand to take a few more cues from the French. This like everything romantic needing to be private bullshit is really annoying.
Something for later, I guess.
Hmm.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I think some romantic things are meant to be private. Again, it's a case by case scenario in terms of subjects. I think.
Again, I'm not
Again,
saying we need to
let's
turn
also,
everything into an orgy. I'm just saying that I think the French have a much healthier approach to romantic subject matter than Americans do because we
well,
tend to be a bunch of hypersensitive prudes.
you're just now realizing that.
No, it's something that I've realized a long time ago, but never really had the opportunity to bring it up in this context. So
Fair enough.
yeah,
I would
what
say
this person is framing as a negative is actually, I think, a positive about Valentine's Day, if anything.
well, to be fair, I myself, obviously, I'm not big into like crowds and stuff. So concerts or, well, actually just concerts, I think.
I would go to concerts, except that the only theater we have locally is the Clemens Center, and they never like, despite my inevitable consternation about it, they never like show operas or like classical music or anything.
You're talking about like like those very fancy concerts. I'm talking about like the mosh pits kind of things, which would kind of be more my scene. But again, I don't like being in like a really crowded crowd where basically I feel like I'm being suffocated in a tight box.
Yeah, mosh pits, and like rock and roll and shit are.
I swear to God, if you say anything bad about rock and roll,
I'm not saying anything bad about rock and roll in particular, but rock and roll concerts are just,
they're kind of gross, actually.
yeah. I wanted to phrase it better than that, but yeah, they're just kind of disorganized fuckwittery. And
Also,
my definition of a concert is the kind of thing you'd have to wear evening wear for.
I think you just want an excuse to dress fancy in public more often.
Well, I mean, I wear a bow tie every day
Regard-
anyway, but
No, I mean like wear a fancy suit that you probably haven't worn yet.
I I wear suits pretty much all the time. But yeah,
Talking
if
something
if
even fancier,
if
something for a special
if
occasion.
we're if we're if we yeah if we're going to engage in artsy fartsy shit, then there should at least be some kind of like an excuse to be a little bit more cultured about it while we're at it.
I won't lie. If I ever went to like an opera thing or something, I'm literally just gonna be going in there like in my regular clothes.
He comes in there with a biker jacket on. I'm gonna be like,
I don't have a biker jacket.
I thought you said you had a leather jacket, or
Yeah, I did, and it was for winter. Actually, it's just I never really wore it, and I kind of lost it.
okay, something to keep in mind for Christmas next year, I guess.
Oh God. Also, I think I outgrew it. Like I
Hmm.
had that thing since I was middle school. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think I outgrew it.
It's one of the benefits of being short in my case is I could probably still fit in most of the clothes I wore in middle school.
Yeah. Anyway, moving back to this.
Hmm.
Seeing and hearing about others sometimes embellished or idealized accounts of their celebrations makes it difficult to avoid comparing them to our own. John Fader PhD, wrote on Psychology Today.
So don't
Yeah, like,
is the answer to that.
don't get me wrong, there, regular people I'm sure do that often, and I've done it sometimes, mainly when it comes to like my writing and stuff. But that's more so like quality than anything for me.
Yeah.
Um, but
Like society can pressure you all the ways it wants, but at the end of the day, it's still up to you whether you acquiesce to that pressure or not.
yeah, um, guess I'm lucky I don't. Um, moving on. Okay. These comparisons can lead to dissatisfaction about our own way of celebrating, even if it was perfectly enjoyable and satisfying in the moment. Okay, if you
So,
do that, then that means you felt deep down that it wasn't enough in the first place when you did your own.
that's on you and you not effectively celebrating enough.
Right? Also, don't keep this in mind. This is only the intro to the article. Yeah. Before and after Valentine's Day is also when a lot of couples head for Splitsville.
Well, that means they weren't happy to begin with.
Yeah.
And again, that's on them.
Yeah. That's not really the holidays.
Like
Holiday is indifferent to them. It's just
if putting effort into your relationship makes you hate your relationship more, then I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say you probably weren't all that happy to begin with. You're probably just like having some kind of inertia of like passively accepting being in a relationship, and that's not a healthy or constructive way of dealing with romance. Like you should be the person you are in a relationship with should like I don't know, make you happy and or make your life more worth living.
I feel like a
That's
lot of people don't know that.
that's the whole point of love. Like that love is essentially like a mutualistic form of validation. You validate them, they validate you, and you both collectively feel more validated at the end. That's
Right.
like that's what love is in both a romantic sense but also a friendship sense. Like that's why we associate with people. Like that's the whole point of what it is to be a social person. You associate with people who add meaning to your life, and you disassociate with people who make your life worse in some way. This I, I feel like I'm explaining like a very obvious thing here, but it apparently needs to be said because we're dealing with somebody who apparently doesn't know that 2 + 2 = 4.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. God, I'm getting tired. CNN reported that on a 2010 study of Facebook relationship statuses found that the highest rate of breakups occur post Valentine's Day. Because
All that tells me is people who use Facebook are vapid pricks.
well, also don't hook up on Facebook. Don't hook up on like social media accounts. Really,
Yeah, and that goes double for dating apps, sadly enough, because 90% of people on dating apps just want
a fuck.
one night stands and fucking fuck boys and flings, and no, that's
Yeah, it's
again the point of love and romance is you're supposed to find somebody who desires you in the same degree as you desire them.
I'm
That's step one.
yeah. It's why I. It's also one of the reasons that like those apps is like I've considered getting dating apps or trying them, but
I mean, some of them are better, like eHarmony and Match.com, the ones that actually like factor in your personality and stuff, but you actually have to pay for those. But
Uh,
yeah, as far as free dating apps go, they're all a waste of time because 90% of the people on them just want flings.
I think we talked about this so many other times before, like specifically like February when it comes around. Is I thought about getting Christian Mingle many times, but I'm not that big with Christian, which I
I
don't.
I, 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 I was gonna say I didn't think your relationship was that important to you. As evidenced by the fact that your best friend is a filthy heretic that you should probably want to burn at the stake if you were more Christian. But never
I I honestly don't think a lot of people would view it that way, and I don't think a lot of people that are on Christian Mingle are super Christians either. I'm sure some are. Don't get me wrong, but it's
I mean, if you're Christian enough that it becomes that important that your partner also be Christian, you're probably you're probably somewhere in the general vicinity of crazy.
fair. But the reason why I considered Christian Mingle was because there is a more certainty of not being used,
Hmm.
which is the thing I'm really against in a relationship.
Yeah.
Uh,
Honestly, my money would be on, again, eHarmony or Match.com, but again, those you have to pay for.
okay. But also, the whole like kind of joke slash rumor slash myth of like Christian or Catholic girls being very sexually repressed, crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
I couldn't handle that. Like I'm being truthful here. I could
yeah,
not handle that.
yeah. The straight laced girl in the skirt is the demon in the sack, though. So there is that.
And again, every guy here, I would assume every guy would know this. This golden rule
Do
is,
not stick it in crazy,
yeah, don't stick it in crazy.
or or in my case, be stuck by it if you happen to be gay.
Uh, fair, fair enough, but still, every guy knows that golden rule.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, like again, social media relationships hardly ever work.
Hmm.
At best, they're just constant. They're like one night stands that you're quote unquote friends with,
Hmm.
or a friend of a friend of a friend with.
Hmm.
They don't last because they're not really meant to.
Yeah, they're rapid and they're not really they're usually the people who are most successful on dating apps are the alpha Chad dicks who can get whoever they want,
And those,
and or the thoughts who can get whoever they want. And being if they can get whoever they want, they don't value anyone they actually have.
but also the fact that they,
View sex as trivial.
yeah, and also shit. I had something. They also, but since they can get anyone, they don't. Yeah, obviously, like they don't value anyone, but also they can't. They're never going to have any meaningful relationship. And as much as I hate the word, this actually could truly apply to those relationships that they have, which is truly toxic.
Yeah. Because there's a difference between mutual constructive validation of like mutual effective desire, which is as good as a definition of love as I can find, and the person who just wants like superficial validation and or like, and in the case of a lot of women, let's be honest, they just want resources because hypergamy. Their definition of a hot guy is the one who has the high-powered job that can buy her lots of fancy things and take her on vacation. That's what a lot of women, especially on dating apps, want from relationships.
Yeah.
Is a in-home servant that also has the option of being fucked.
But also, again, to flip it, even though feminists make this whole thing about it
Mm-hmm.
to the point that it really makes you, it's like the using the German N word so much to a point that it has no meaning anymore.
Yeah.
But with guys, those actual, what'd you call them again? On alpha.
The alpha Chad dicks.
Yeah. Does that sound like a fucking football team?
Because that's basically what a Chad is
Yeah.
the golden boy on the football team who can get all the girls and therefore appreciates basically none of them.
Fair enough. But yeah, that and the relationship that they would have is, I don't want to say it, but yeah, it is effectively abusive, both mentally and maybe even physically at times. And
Because they don't actually have the emotional wherewithal to have or seek that kind of, because again, what a for lack of a better word, stable human being wants in a relationship is love. They want a mutual validation thing where you seek someone who you desire that also desires you in return. That's the basis of like stable, rational, decent relationships. It's like you make the person happy, the person makes you happy, and you build a life and or relationship together because you want to stay you want to essentially sanction that person's impact on your life in a more like formal official way. And then comes, the marriage and the children and the so on and so on and so forth. That's everyone's ideal. Everyone's ideal is either the pure maiden or the knight in shining armor who fills all of your holes, both physical and like spiritual / psychological.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
I almost just said the spiritual and psychological part, then there was a part of me was like, oh, filling holes, lol, and I had to reference the physical part. But
sorry.
But with regards to use the internet meme language, the Chads and the Stacys, with regards to the Chads and the Stacys, because both of them understand that they are attractive, they don't actually understand. Like for your average person, we understand that love is something you have to work at. Therefore, when we find it, we appreciate it more, and we want as long term a version of it as we can get. Whereas with the Chads and the Stacys, because they are the top 1% of 1% of people who everyone wants, they can just conjure up at any given moment 5 or 10 people who would want them at the drop of a hat. And therefore, they don't understand how it, for lack of a better word, it's a kind of privilege. It's
pretty privileged.
They have so much access to sex and romance that they don't understand how lucky they are to have it.
Yeah, I don't
They
really.
don't understand what it's like to be a ordinary human person because they're too busy being freaking quasi demigods.
Uh, Gone.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Hmm.
Uh, Perhaps because of of those unmet expectations. On the other hand, if you're single, you might feel pressured to swipe yourself a date because of FOMO. F- oh, fear of missing out.
Yeah.
That is literally not even that. I don't. I hate abbreviations sometimes, man.
Yeah. Again, this writer is definitely a hipster.
Oh, really? What made you guess that?
Well, my first clue was they used AF unironically.
Oh,
And
like that comic Black AF.
uh,
It was by Kwanzaa.
yes, that's a good example. And then they just used FOMO unironically, and I've never seen anyone who wasn't a hipster unironically use FOMO as
They
a
actually use that for um for a TV spot of Uncharted.
seriously.
Yeah. I,
That's that's totally not a horrifying sign or anything.
anyway, trust me, forced coupling for the wrong reasons almost never ends well. Honestly, I mean, to be fair, that's not entirely wrong.
That's not wrong, but again, we're left with the that's your responsibility as a full-fledged person to not to essentially the issue you're having here, Sir Hipster Douche, is um you feel compelled to bend to the will of like societal consensus at the drop of a hat. Learn to say no, god damn you.
No means no.
Learn learn to take cues from Captain America from Captain America Civil War. When the world when the world tells you to move, sometimes you have to plant your feet even further and say no, you move. Or
Oh,
or to put another way, when Dormammu keeps
oh my.
killing you, you point out that you might not win, but you can lose over and over again.
Moving on.
Yeah.
If you're not feeling all bright and shiny about everything Cupid, then you're going to love these 8 reasons why Valentine's Day is actually toxic AF and why you're empowered to avoid it.
He
Right.
used it twice. Twice. God damn it.
Okay, so now we're at the first reason. And keep in mind, there was 8 of them.
Oh
We
god.
just got through the intro of the article.
Merciful God, these people love to listen to themselves talk.
Not unlike a certain person I know.
Okay, once again, I must say, for the record, fuck your completely accurate statements.
I mean, you set it up so perfectly, so.
Fair enough.
Okay, so number 1, it creates unrealistic expectations. Again, base value, not entirely wrong.
But again, you are accountable / responsible for your own expectations.
I always find it funny is when like they do the whole unrealistic expectations thing.
Yeah,
Um,
and of course there's the other issue of who the fuck defines realism
yeah, that.
and
Good.
how do they define it?
Right. Do you remember all those like people were getting constantly like bitching about like those very like etchy animes? Um, with like all the fan service and stuff. Not all anime, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
Yeah,
point-
the nihilistic approach of there is no such thing as beautiful people, even though there are.
this doesn't even go to SJW thing. I mean, this also like is like the comics thing with the SJWs, but also the like the fanatical Christians, of like the
Yeah.
90s and stuff and all.
Yeah, how dare you portray beautiful things? That implies that other things aren't beautiful somehow.
I'm just pointing out like all the whining about like the where are her organs deal, like with like the designs of like those comic book women. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah, it's the same old sex negative bullshit as it's ever been. With the you
Um,
you can't have people be open with their sexuality because that's immoral.
right, but that's also, but I mean that's just in general of like unrealistic expectations deal.
Well,
But
it's also, and again, this is my issue. This is always my issue with realism whenever it comes up in conversation. Is a lot of people seem to mean when a lot of people say realism, they mean nihilism or softcore nihilism at least, because they appear to be of the assumption that nothing that actually matters is realistic, and that grown up realism or the adult approach is just to sacrifice every hope or dream you've ever had and accept that the world is shit. And my stock response to anyone who believes any variation on that is no, fuck you. If everyone stops believing that the world can be decent, then all that does is rob people of the incentive to make the world better. If everyone stops believing in magic, then the world becomes a less magical place. Not because magic stops existing, but because nobody is willing to look for it anymore.
Dom, shall we?
Yeah, go on.
Keep in mind that was just the title.
Oh my god. Go on.
The pressure to pull off the perfect Valentine's Day can have you spending money you don't have on gifts your partner doesn't need.
So be more efficient in your allocation of resources.
That is a huge generalization. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure people do that and are idiots for it.
Yeah, but again, this is my fundamental issue with this hipster dude prick. Is he
It
blames the holiday itself for expectations that he derives from it.
No, it's I don't think I think it's a girl.
Oh well. In either case, they're blaming
It's well, her name is Brandy Neal. Brandy with an I, by the way.
okay, Brandy. You're blaming Valentine's Day for inflicting expectations upon you. You're blaming a holiday for the expectations and opinions you have about that holiday. Do you not see how that's kind of fucked up? If you feel compelled to spend money that you don't have, that is a you problem. You can't export that onto Valentine's Day itself and go, Valentine's Day made me do it. It's literally the old school criminal defense of the devil made me do it.
Right,
Except it's the Valentine's Day made me do it.
okay. No, I got nothing. Moving on.
Yeah.
What's more, like communication between couples about what each of them expect on Valentine's Day can lead to unnecessary arguments where you eventually have to give your partner for not being a mind reader. Okay, this seems like
So communicate with your partner then. God damn it.
don't.
Go ahead.
This feels like a scenario in rom-com movie.
Hmm.
Like she just explained a rom-com movie.
Yeah, and this is what I mean about the softcore nihilism, because she's acting as though that scenario is completely unavoidable and inevitable. Whereas, again, as per usual, if you just behave like a human being and are accountable for your own wants and needs and desires and shit, then you don't have to engage in that. If you personally take the initiative to communicate with your partner and ensure that they communicate with you in their turn, then this can be avoided. You're acting as though the world is like purposefully arrayed against you, or the world is so nihilistic and indifferent that you can't ever avoid a negative outcome, which is just stupid.
You know.
Yeah.
Number 2. Sorry. Fuck. I'll be honest. I think this article's zapping whatever strength I have in my mind left.
Mm.
It creates stress you don't need. I mean, that's any holiday, to be fair.
But it also creates joy you wouldn't otherwise have if you do it right.
Yeah. I mean, stress is just part of life. I feel like a lot of people forget that.
Yeah, unfortunately, giving a fuck about anything is going to cause you undue stress, because
Yeah, I can't tell you.
it takes extra effort to give a fuck.
I can't tell you how many times I've had uh, I can think of like 3 cases, not specific, but generalized of things that have caused me to be like super stressed. Actually, to be fair, I'm kind of always stressed. One is just general, like when I'm doing my writing, if it's good or not, or if I'm
Yeah.
doing enough work to make these good. Just the anxiety of
Mhm.
a writer is like
Yeah.
the first thing that comes to mind. And like when I was in school, dude, like getting good grades and all that, so like I could pass, so I'm not stuck in a grade behind, so I can graduate.
Mhm.
Uh,
And this is why I take it on myself personally as your friend to make sure you're happy as much as possible, because when you spiral like this, I genuinely start to worry about you.
oh no, like it's not like it's not super bad stress, like not like it crushing my lungs kind of stress. It's just average stress.
Right, but even so, only so much stress is constructive,
What was the
and you have a self-depreciating sense about you anyway.
There's a third one. Hey, that's just because of where I live. Stress of being outside. To be fair, I'm not really an outside person. So, well, okay, no, that's not entirely true. I just
I was gonna say, you always used to tell me how much you enjoyed going on walks.
still do. I just can't do one right now because it's winter.
Yeah, and of course the coof for a while there was a
Uh,
reason not to.
yeah. Well, that's actually just. I want to say social anxiety, but I don't know if that's it because I'm fine in most cases. It's just again like really big crowds that I have a problem with, like being in the middle of one.
Hmm.
Again, I don't know if that's what you would qualify as social anxiety or not.
I mean, to some extent, it might just be more generalized anxiety, though.
Yeah. Um, but yeah,
You're just more of an introvert.
yeah. Yeah. Again, stress is just a part of life. Like it affects like all all facets of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, I like to believe, often stress can be positive if you let it be.
That being said, you have to monitor your own stress, or at least hang around with people who are willing to monitor it for you.
Yeah.
Ahem.
And,
Because it can turn on you if you're not careful, which again boils back down to, on some level, part of this is your obligations as a human being to just be a human being.
yeah. Um, but I mean, like like what Don said earlier, is like whenever you put your heart into something, like work really hard on it, you're gonna stress.
Giving a fuck takes effort,
Yeah, dude. I can tell
unfortunately.
you like how many birthdays I've helped like work on where where we stressed about like getting it like right and doing good for the person to celebrate. You know?
Yeah, and not for nothing, and I don't begrudge anyone this, but this past Christmas season, I was really stressed because I was worried that the gift I got Brainstormer wouldn't show up on time or at all at one point. Uh,
Also, I have it with me right now.
what did you end up doing with it, by the way? Did you end up hanging it
Uh,
up?
I No, I don't have a place to hang it up. I just kind of have it like it's on my uh my bedpost. Well, not bedpost, but my my headboard.
Ah,
I won't lie, it's creepy as hell. Like in a way, like kind of the weird thing is like it doesn't have eyes, but it feels like it's watching me
mm-hmm,
sometimes. Especially when I look at it, it feels like it's looking right at me.
mm-hmm,
It's weird. Also, the painted on lips are just unsettling to me.
mm-hmm,
I mean, I like it, I do. It's just lips on a blank mask are creepy to me.
uh-huh.
Anyway, during the holidays, the winter doldrums, and recovering from January, the month of 11 million days, you're likely already stressed AF by the time Valentine's Day comes around.
Okay, stop with the AF, for the love of all
Literally
that is
just,
holy.
literally just say as fucked. That would be preferable and better.
Yeah, it is more organic and reasonable and human to just say as fuck than it is to hipsterize it.
Yeah. I don't really have anything to say to that.
And again, you seem to resent having to give a fuck, and that bothers me because,
Yeah.
like, you shouldn't. If anything, you should resent things that prevent you from giving a fuck. I know that's my biggest issue is when I care about something and the thing in question insists on not being cared about, looking at you, Netflix adaptation of Sandman, or looking at you, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. When when I am naturally predisposed to care about something and the thing in question disappoints me or makes me regret caring about it, that is more anger inducing than where I have to care about a thing. Where
Right.
that's just it's so vapid and counterproductive and nihilistic to like actively resent having to give a fuck.
um, whether you're single or coupled, those dreaded V-Day obligations can create a lot of unnecessary stress that you definitely don't need.
Or you could find someone you enjoy spoiling.
Although, again, personally, I would do it a day or two before Valentine's Day because I think if you go out on Valentine's Day, certain like restaurants will charge you more. And
Right.
there would be more people at those places, so it's crowded and
Yeah, and on that note, I suggest doing something more personal for the person. Like my big thing if I ever get in a relationship will be giving them massages because I'm good at massages, but partially because of the study of magic, oddly enough, because study of magic implies the study of like chakras and energy currents and shit.
um, how are you gonna do that with like the little stick arms you have? Got no power in them. I'm sorry, like the joke just came to me like when you said massages, and
I I must insist on fuck your completely accurate statements.
it was good.
Besides,
It was good though, right? It was good. It was a good one.
yes.
Yeah. Uh, but
Well played, sir.
right, but sorry. Please continue. Thing. Yeah.
But point being, like I'm the kind of person who would rather like spend the day cooking for my partner or like doing the thing with the rose petals or the thing with the candles that is at this point like a romantic cliche. I'm that kind of person. I do fancy shit for people I care about, but I'm the kind of person who I'd rather spend time and effort than I would money. Not that I'm opposed to spending money, but I'd rather be clever about the way I do it rather than take them out to dinner. I'd rather spend however much on the ingredients to cook them something from scratch, or rather than take them out to a movie or something, we could stay in and I actually have a popcorn machine, so I could actually make movie theater style popcorn for my partner if we ended up together,
Right.
and I still own the thing.
I I don't disagree. Uh, I can't do the cooking thing mainly because I can't cook. I'm a terrible cook. Uh,
I keep telling you, you need to watch a cooking show called Good Eats. It will educate you on how to cook better than any show I've ever seen. And more importantly, it will actually explain to you how cooking works so you could come up with shit on your own.
well, to me, if anything, I would find a restaurant that I have a personal connection to share with someone.
Hmm.
So the diners I've gone to.
I was just about to say you're taking like to diners, aren't you?
Oh yeah, like dude, yeah, any other place would be terrible, just because that is genuinely good food with effort put into making it. And plus, it's not too fancy. You know, like uh, honestly, I feel like this should be like a topic of discussion for like another week.
Hmm.
Um, I'll say it here. Like you take them to a diner, like you don't have to dress up too fancy. Like you can, sure, but like you don't have to like, you know, it has a different vibe than like a 4-star restaurant. 4 or 5-star restaurant. We don't have uh like the we have like 3-star restaurants at most
Hmm.
here. But like you take them to like a fancy restaurant where like you gotta be dressed up like in a tuxedo or a gown or whatever.
Hmm.
That's why it. My go-to place for like maybe a date or something is like a diner because like it's a totally different vibe. It's more it's a better place to be able to talk to someone too. You know. Like you don't have to put on a mask of snooty rich or whatever. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just people. Because believe it or not,
Mm-hmm.
it's just to me like one of the things I value in like a relationship is like honesty.
Mm-hmm.
So like going to a place where like you don't have to like put up a real like big facade or anything. And, like just like enjoy the time. Plus, again, I have a special connection with diners mainly because my family took me to like them, a lot of them when I was growing up and stuff.
Mm.
And it's something again I like to share with a partner that I have. But yeah, we really veered off topic there.
Yeah.
Moving back topic or
Yeah.
uh, similar to New Year's Eve, you don't have to succumb to the pressure of Valentine's Day. To be fair, I don't celebrate New Year's Eve anymore. It's not
Yeah.
sad. That's not sad. I just don't have anything to really do. I'm just most of the time I'm just too tired to stay up that long. Plus, again, last couple of years, like since 2020, every day just kind of felt the same.
Mm-hmm.
But also, yeah, it's just I don't really do anything for New Year's because most of the stuff
Mm-hmm.
that would involve me doing stuff for New Year's or requires drinking or going out to parties. And those parties are not places I personally want to be at.
Mm-hmm.
So don't call me sad, don't I? Know you were thinking it.
Well, I was also thinking of one of the reasons why you don't like New Year's, but that's a different thing that we shouldn't discuss on stream because it's too personal.
Yeah. Um,
So I have to say I feel compelled to check on him every New Year's because of personal shit.
um, but yeah, like again, like you succumbing to the pressure is more so on dependent on the person.
Yeah, and how you choose to react to that pressure is entirely up to you.
Yeah. Because okay, so the constructive way to handle that pressure, again, in my opinion, is to think creatively to solve whatever problem there is, right?
Yeah, you use it as a source of motivation, not a source of trepidation.
It's very telling to see how someone would handle pressure of Valentine's Day. Like what?
Or any holiday for that matter.
Okay, fair. That's true. But specifically in this scenario, like who a partner would be facing the
Yeah.
pressure of Valentine's Day, how they would react.
And this is one of the reasons why it's good to have Valentine's Day, because it is that one standardized day of everyone knows that there's some expectation of going above and beyond the normal whatever your couple standard of like normal romance is. You're supposed to take that and turn it up to an 11 on Valentine's Day.
Okay, that's fair. I will give that to Valentine's Day. That is like the only one I'll give it. I still don't like it, just again of the overblown nature of it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's like how I feel about the Godfather movies.
It's literally the Family Guy meme.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I just
And to be fair, I don't blame you with regards to The Godfather, because honestly, I think the only good one is the first one.
well, again, I just don't. Again, it's like the the hype behind it. I find is the problem for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I watched it, I thought it was okay. I liked it. Whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
don't. I don't think.
That's the test of a really good classic movie, is can it justify the hype or not? Because there are movies that, no matter how hyped they are, will still live up to the hype.
Right. I don't know.
Even within the context of mafia movies, I would say Goodfellas is actually a better mafia movie than.
I've never seen Goodfellas.
If you kind of thought The Godfather was Matt, I think you'll like Goodfellas more because it's more um not necessarily comedic, but like more and not quite romanticized necessarily, but like
Tongue in
it
cheek.
it's more it's more sincere about its love of like gangster shit. And you actually kind of see it from the perspective of someone who.
I'll be honest. Like I know about Goodfellas and stuff. It just never interested me.
Hmm.
Like I never really cared to watch it.
It's a good movie.
Like
It is.
I don't doubt that. Again, it just never really. There are certain movies, even though like they're good, and I'm sure they're good, don't really grab my attention to want to watch them.
Hmm.
Like honestly, the gangster movies or the crime movies I grew up on were basically Tarantino movies.
Mm-hmm. Which reminds me, I finally found somewhere to stream Inglourious Basterds the other day.
I watch
So
it.
I started rewatching that again. I didn't finish it because I ended up falling asleep halfway through because I started watching it at like midnight. But
Yeah.
I finally found Inglourious Basterds. And one thing I noticed, upon rewatching Inglourious Basterds, or starting to, is the one head of the Inglourious Basterds there, the general, is a massive prick.
Lieutenant Aldo Rain. But I don't know if he's a lieutenant actually. I don't think he's a general though.
But the guy with the really over the top Southern accent, the general.
Aldo Rain. He's part. I think he said
Yeah,
part Comanche Indian.
yeah. But
Actually, fun fact: if you look at his neck, you'll see a rope burn there because he was lynched as a kid.
yeah. But in any case, he's a massive prick because I I literally was listening to his first speech at the beginning, and I was sitting there going, "You think of the Nazis in exactly the same way the Nazis think about you guys." The Especially his line about how we're not going to treat the Nazis with any humanity because the Nazis have no humanity. It's like that's literally what Nazis say about Jews. Literally.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because being involved in the culture war, I've become desensitized to being called a Nazi and so on and so forth lately. But it's like that to me is the number one sign of evil, is when you stop paying attention to the standard you hold things to because of who you're holding them to, or who you're comparing them to. Like, if if you think, for example, with Nazis, everyone knows the reason why Nazis are bad is because they have no regard for other people's humanity. But if your response to that is not having any regard for Nazis' humanity, then it's the Death Note problem all over again. If if
Um,
if you if you become as bad as the people you hate, then all you've done is increase the number of people who need to fucking die. Then,
hey Don.
yeah.
I think you're just overanalyzing it to hell.
Well, again, it's because once you've been called a Nazi 1,000 times, and once you have been literally dehumanized because of your political positions, it gets really hard to root for somebody who goes, we're not treating these people with humanity because they have no humanity.
because
Yeah, no, fuck you.
I'm gonna make a really fucked up joke, but I don't want to just because it could totally be taken out of context later.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's not only okay, but it can also be empowering to completely boycott this forced day of love. Okay, clearly this person's never been in love.
Yeah, fuck you.
Or has, and they got heartbroken and they went down this
Yeah,
road.
the fucking nihilism thing of like, well, love is stupid anyway. Yeah, no, love is kind of one of the things that makes life worth living.
Anyway,
Because we're a goddamn social species, and love is like the purest expression of that.
yeah. Moving on.
Yeah.
Number 3. Remember, we have 5 more of these.
Oh god.
Number 3, it can cause anxiety, which is pretty much the same as the one before.
Yeah. And again, it's sort of I understand how fucked up anxiety can be. I do. My heart literally almost exploded once because my heart rate had gone so nuts because of anxiety that the doctor said I should either be feeling lighthearted or I should be unconscious because of how fast my heart was beating. So I get the anxiety is not something you can always control, but
right.
at the very least, you can at least control your anxiety in the sense of itemize why you're feeling anxiety and deal with it.
But okay, so anxiety and stress, are those interchangeable or are they very distinct different things?
I mean, they're different, but they're related.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure. But again, it's the same things I said with stress. Granted, we talked a little bit about anxiety as well. That's just a part of life. Granted, again, anxiety can be a lot worse than stress, I'm sure, as Dalton gave the example of, obviously.
Yeah, and again, but even so, even anxiety can sometimes be used in a positive way. Like, oh, a lot of times if you're on a creative high, you feel and like the sort of butterflies in your stomach feeling is an anxious feeling.
Yeah.
So like
I won't.
if you learn how to use anxiety, it can be constructive.
Right. I actually have. I think. I don't think it was. I gave examples of stress, and I think I have a couple of. I think I have an example of anxiety, but I will save that because I need to read the reasoning of this
Mm-hmm.
of this reason, the
Mm-hmm.
explanation of this reason, not the reason of the reason.
Mm-hmm.
Valentine's Day is the one day of the year that you're expected to be better looking, a better lover, a more fascinating conversationalist, the buyer of the perfect gift, and the planner of the once in a lifetime experience.
You should strive to be those things all the time, if possible. But
Yeah. Also,
again, your trepidation seems to boil down to where I don't want to put effort in. Well,
that's lazy.
sucks to be you. I'm sorry. Like, goddamn.
Okay, so anxious yet? Valentine's Day is basically setting you up to fail, which can even lead to awkward sex among couples who generally don't have any problems in the bedroom.
Oh, again,
Fuck.
just it. You don't have to acquiesce to this nihilistic bullshit of, well, I'm doomed to fail anyway. Yeah, no, some people manage to rise to the occasion. And I'll tell you something else. When you do find somebody that perfect gift, whether it's for Valentine's Day or Christmas or whatever, it feels indescribably good to know you found the right answer, basically. Case case in point, when I figured out what to get Brainstormer for Christmas this past time around, I felt really good about it. The only thing that bothered me was because it took me until like a week before Christmas to find it. I didn't get to order it on time, so it was late. But even so, I was really happy when he opened it up and he said he loved it. So again, your Miss Hipster person.
Brandy.
It's Yeah, Brandy. It seems like your main issue is you don't like caring about things or putting in the effort for things. And I hate to break this to you, but some of the best things in life come as a result of knowing you put the effort in and it paid off.
Right. Oh yeah, maybe in the last part of this, and then I'll probably give my example of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Um, actually, I might want to give it now because I just read through the second half of this, and that's a whole conversation in itself.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the example of anxiety I was going to give at the beginning earlier was the as Dawn mentioned, the butterflies in my stomach deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was extremely nervous, which led to somewhat anxiety of asking this girl out that I knew
Mm-hmm.
during my senior year of high school. Uh, we actually went to two different schools, but we met at this kind of career school that I was going to learn about filmmaking,
Mm-hmm.
like this class. And yeah, we talked and we know each other for a little bit. And yeah, I wanted to, like, we were good friends, and I wanted to try to see if, we could be something more. I asked her, funny enough, I won't lie, like, dude, I wanted to throw up when I asked her if she would like to go out.
Mm-hmm.
One, obviously, she was very surprised by that. It honestly kind of didn't help. It did make like the last 15 minutes of class because I asked her like 15 minutes before class, kind of awkward.
Mm-hmm.
She made the joke that I probably should have saved this towards the end of class, and I said I probably would have, but I honestly felt like I probably wouldn't ask then, so might as well get it over with.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because I'm sure you felt like you were gonna explode.
yeah, dude, my heart was like 10 times faster than a horse race. Um, Unfortunately, nothing really happened between us. But at least I had the courage enough to ask. So, but yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
anxiety really, I wouldn't say it got to me, but was looming over me that whole day while I was like trying to figure out what the best time would be to ask her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's actually not the first time I've asked out a girl. Most of the time they've said no. Um, so,
Asshole.
eh, wasn't that bad.
I know, but as your friend, I have to offer commiseration because I'm gonna be entirely honest with you. I think you're a catch. and someday you will make someone very, very happy.
Yeah, but yeah. So again, like anxiety can be positive. Like it made me get like honestly, me kind of fighting through my stress and anxiety, mainly my anxiety, has made me be able to like go out into social situations and kind of just have fun and enjoy myself. Like it's kind of why I went to a lot of like dances at my school. Hell, was it even in the center of dance circles at times?
Hmm.
God, those were the. And I can't tell you how like I think my face went completely red at times, but I still had a good time.
Hmm.
But yeah, again, my point being is, anxiety and stress, while they can be detrimental in some cases, sure, that
Hmm.
that's just a given. They can be very positive when you're able to work kind of with those emotions to push yourself forward.
Well, it's an emotional variation on the fight or flight response, which can be really annoying if your default response is to flee from everything that makes you anxious. But if you can get into the fighting headspace, then it, it can essentially be a fuel for accomplishing greater things than you could otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
What's more the object? And this is still number three, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
What's more the object of the overt objectification of women in almost every underwear ad leading up to Valentine's Day can make you feel pressured to don lingerie you'd never normally wear because that's what society is telling you your partner wants.
Okay, to that my response is fuck you, and also Calvin Klein exists. It, if we're if we're truly gonna bitch and moan and complain about objectification via underwear modeling, then tell me you haven't ever jerked off to Mark Wahlberg in his prime for when he was modeling for Calvin Klein, Brandy, because I I imagine that if you knew what Marky Mark looked like in the '90s when he modeled for Calvin Klein, you'd concede that male objectification was also a thing.
Right. I mean, yeah, there are male models too, and other things.
And here's the other thing, the other half of this. Sexuality is a power to be used, not a victimhood to be carried.
Right. I also want to point out again that again it really depends on the person if they feel pressured to get these things.
Yeah. And again, whether you choose to acquiesce to this pressure or not is entirely up to you.
Yeah. Um, I will say though, I've never really understood lingerie.
I I honestly don't really get it either.
Like I mean I get it for certain people. Like most people would. It's just never something that's really piqued my interest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the comic shop I go to, right? It's actually near a Victoria's Secret store, and I walk past it every time. And I never look in it. I'm never drawn to it. Like again, lingerie is just not a thing that I've ever really gravitated towards in terms of I, what's the word? Fat. I just never really considered if I would ever have a partner that they would wear that she would uh, wear lingerie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Also, it just seems like super complex clothing for fucking underwear.
Mm-hmm.
it's I don't know. It's just really weird. And to be fair, I don't get fashion. I'm not really a fashion guy. So,
Yeah, no, I don't get it either.
um, okay. Combine these two pressures, and you could end up with a really bad sex sandwich. That's your ending statement on that reason.
This person is just
Tone
so
deaf.
many so many flavors of hipster awkward that I can't take them seriously at all.
So tone deaf. Anyway, moving on.
Yep.
Number 4. So we got 4 left. Halfway there.
Yay.
It can trigger depressive thoughts. So they're just
This is
repeating stuff.
this is the same point over again, and the same thing is true of like on some level you are responsible to some degree for your own thought patterns.
Um,
And it may just be a problem of the way you personally are framing this. Like the context and the framework you are applying to things is what's fucking you up here.
um, if you're already battling anxiety and depression, that should be stress, not depression. Valentine's Day can be a huge trigger, especially if you're single and you're surrounded by what seems like the world's happiest couples.
Okay, this is true, but it still is your responsibility.
Right. I mean, I don't think it was depressive for me. But I told you about about friends in high school where they were like the lovebirds, the perfect couple and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Good people, Like I said, they were friends of mine. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's just that they were always joined at the hip, always.
Mm-hmm.
Like not one moment, unless they were in different classes, did you see them not together, like holding hands. One was in the lap of the other. It's
Mm-hmm.
honestly, it wasn't like it didn't make me depressed or anything. It was just kind of annoying, and not in like a mean kind of annoyed or anything from me. It's just we get it. You're happy together. It's
Stop rubbing it in everyone's face.
no,
Yeah.
no, not really, not that. It's just when you see
That
it every day for like a year or 4 in my case.
yeah, it wears on you.
Yes.
It is it reminds me of in the Soup Nazi episode of Seinfeld, Jerry had Jerry had a girlfriend who he was like that with, and they constantly called each other Snoopy. It's that thing.
Yeah. Like again, I was happy for them, obviously, but again, you see that for 4 years straight, all of high school.
Yeah, it's saccharine and sugary enough to give you diabetes at that point.
Yeah, just
Anyway, I've got to go deal with my cat because she's been meowing at me for like half an hour.
okay.
I'll be right back.
Yep.
Yes, cat. Shush. Shush. Quit. Quit. Shush. Okay. Continue.
All right. With everyone curating their social media feeds to show the best versions of themselves versus who they really are, it might feel like every single person on the planet but you has found their twin flame, but it's not true.
So don't hang around with vapid people who are social media conscious.
Right. It's also the thing of like I don't really try and um like when I'm in them, I try to be in the moment when things happen. Like when I'm on walks and stuff,
Hmm.
I don't try to like FaceTime myself or live stream my walk or anything. I'm just kind of in the moment, enjoying it.
Mm.
I will say when I was younger, I actually took pictures of clouds when I would go on walks.
Hmm.
I don't do it anymore, man, because I don't see a lot of clouds often anymore,
Hmm.
or ones that are interesting. Because I once took a photo of like a cloud that was like a complete circle or like a ring,
Hmm.
which was really cool to me. Like imagine that, like
Hmm.
a cloud that's like it wasn't like a perfect ring or anything. Like there were obviously like the edges of it were, but it looked like a circle.
Hmm.
Or, well, a ring, not a circle, because that implies that there's something inside of the
Hmm.
yeah. Uh, but my point is like yeah, with what you said, it's like when you're dating someone, I don't see the point in like taking some pictures, sure, just to commemorate certain things.
Well, it's obvious that you'd want to share good moments, or like.
Yeah, yeah, but like I mean, like the obviously like staged ones, like staged photos. You know what I'm talking about?
Hmm.
Like like those family portrait things.
Yeah, I never understood those.
I
Yeah,
don't. I mean, if it was a painting, sure.
yeah, but it 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 only ever comes off as saccharine and hollow anyway, and all it says is this person is pretentious enough to have this done.
Yeah,
Like everyone always assumes it makes them look good, but it only ever makes them look pretentious and shallow.
I won't lie. I had some family members who did that.
Hmm.
Not really connected to me main wise. I'm talking like some cousins,
Mhm.
uh, grand cousins, I guess.
Mhm.
Second cousins, not
Mhm.
second cousins. So my grandmother's sisters was
Mhm.
my great aunt. They're her kids. It's the whole thing. Don't.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, again, and also if you're judging someone else's happiness to yours, again, that's very telling of who you are as a person more than anything else.
It implies that you either don't know yourself or that there isn't a self there to know.
Yeah, it's just anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Being single on Valentine's Day may have you thinking you're unworthy or of love or unlovable.
Yeah, I've dealt with that, but the correct answer is to keep trying,
Yep. You may,
because
sorry.
you can either let it spiral into suicide, or you can use it as motivation to help find that one.
Right. What's the
Even if it is a futile and mostly meaningless gesture at some point, it's
right?
still, you know, it's better to try and fail than to stop trying.
Yeah, that I was gonna say the old saying of try again. The only real failure is when you stop. However it goes. Right?
Or better yet, in this case, to quote Shakespeare, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all."
Oh yeah, yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Mhm.
You may worry that you'll never find someone to love or someone who will love you. If you're in an unhappy relationship, you may feel the same way. Linda Walter, LCSW, wrote for Psychology Today.
Well, yeah, but are you just gonna avoid feeling that way forever? Because
That honestly seems more destructive.
yeah, to some degree, that feeling is called self-awareness because it it makes you aware of the fact that are you aren't the center of the universe. You aren't a god. You need other people, whether they be romantic partners or friends or whomever, to help complete you as a person. And quite frankly, if you genuinely believe that you're perfect and that you don't need anyone else to complete you or assist you in life, then that makes you even more shallow and broken than you otherwise would be. Someone who's smart enough to know their limitations and know their like personal failings is far more complete and well-rounded as a person than someone who goes, "No, I don't need anyone, and I will never need anyone because I'm perfect," and blah 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 blah. Yeah, that kind of self-love, if you want to call it that, is not constructive, and in fact is a sign of psychological and emotional repression.
Uh,
Because we are a social species and we need social connection. It's just a fact of the matter.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Just try not to compare yourself with the other people you see on your television or movie screen. Do you really know anyone who has a relationship that's like those portrayed in the movies or on commercials? Dude, I would not like to have a relationship on like the relationships portrayed on TV, movies, whatever, because they fucking suck.
Yeah, a lot of alleged romance movies are terrible. Romance novels are better, but yeah.
Well, okay, I'm talking about like the things I've seen that have romances in them, right?
Mhm.
Most of the time, they're underdeveloped or spontaneous or constantly being broken up.
Yeah, over the single stupidest shit conceivable.
Right. Cheating, constant cheat. Like, I get it's a story that needs drama and stuff.
But yeah, 90% of all romances in stories in this day and age shouldn't be together.
Yeah.
They don't actually care about each other, and it and let's also be honest, 90% of all romance subplot issues would be resolved if people just talked like normal people.
Mhm.
Like if they were willing to have conversations with the other person rather than hiding shit or belittling shit or trying to suppress shit.
Um, Moving on.
Mhm.
Number 5 pressures you to get spendy.
Well, what would you rather spend money on rather than things that make you happy?
And to be fair, I would prefer something homemade, even, no matter if it costs a lot to make or something that came from the heart.
Right, but even then, it's like you spend money on things that make you happy if you're not an idiot.
Yeah, true. Anyway, let me read the description of thing here. If your bank account is in the single digits after the holidays, the pressure to get your bay the biggest, best gift in the history of the world can throw you into a financial firestorm that you might spend the rest of the year trying to recover from.
So be more careful with your spending.
Yeah, I feel like honestly this abides more to like the younger folk.
Yeah, prioritize what you find meaningful.
Yeah,
And
that, that actually is
if
a
if you know you're gonna spend a fuck ton of money on a Valentine's Day present, then save accordingly, goddamn you.
yeah, that's
This-
actually like a big problem with like kind of teenagers and college kids is they don't know how to actually use money.
Again, it's this nihilism thing of, well,
I don't
the
know if
world.
it's nihilism. I think it's just more like again youthful stupidity.
Well, it's both, but in this case, it's like, well, the world is cruel, so of course I'm gonna be taken advantage of if I engage in this. And it's like, no, you have the like th- every point this person has made so far has essentially boiled down into, I'm a I'm a leaf on the wind that's being, passively moved from one thing to another. I don't have any control over this, and there's nothing I can do to alter the course of this. And it's like, no, take responsibility for your own personal fucking existence and stop blaming everything that goes wrong in the world on the universe. Sometimes it's just because you're a lazy fuck.
Or an
And
idiot.
if and if you are a lazy nihilistic fuck who thinks the universe is just gonna do whatever it's gonna do to you regardless, then that's partially your problem.
Right? Um. Oh, by the way, nice Firefly reference with a leaf on the wind.
It wasn't intentionally a Firefly reference, but thanks.
I got it. So, um, yeah. Again, it really is. We're just repeating things at this point. It really is also depending on the person.
Hmm.
Case by case scenario here. Um, whether or not they go into financial fuckery. And again, like it's also again just the problem of like a lot of young people who are in relationships. I say young is old. I
Hmm.
qualify as a young person. Um, but like teenagers and like 20 year olds, they don't know how to like properly manage their money and stuff, and therefore they
Or they would if they thought about it correctly, and they just don't think about it correctly because they have this passive approach of like, I'm not a contributor to things that happen in my life. I'm just a passive thing that things happens to.
yeah. I was lucky to learn about the value of money and how to actually properly use it early on in life. For reasons I'm not going to go into, just kind of bring that up. But yeah,
Suffice it to say, while the universe was busy kicking him in the balls repeatedly in a metaphorical sense,
thank you,
it did actually teach him some constructive things.
thank you, Dalton. Uh, but yeah, again, it's just it really does really depends on what you again just on the person and how they show their love and appreciation to uh, their partner.
Hmm.
The other thing is, a lot of them kind of think throwing more money at the thing is going to make it better. Get the
Yeah, the issue of like they don't understand the difference between expensiveness and quality.
yeah. As I said, like a lot of people get fucked over with like synthetic gemstones.
Hmm.
Um, well, granted, that is that is what that's more so they get tricked by the quality of synthetic gemstones out of their money.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my point's still valid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, anyway, ABC News reported that the National Retail Federation released a study that revealed people spend an average of almost $137 on Valentine's Day gifts. In the grand scheme of things, that's actually not a lot.
Yeah, I was about to say, if especially if you're smart enough to save up, that's like that's like maybe a month's worth of savings. Like if you know in January that you want to get your significant other a gift for Valentine's Day and you want to let's say $137 is your budget, you can save that up in about a month if you have a semi decent job because most jobs pay like $200 a week or so. And even taking into account things like groceries and bills and blah 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 blah, blah. Like if you just save up whatever's left of your paycheck at the end of paying all the necessaries for about a month, then you and again this is assuming you make like $200 a week. You can have $137 saved up in no time.
Yeah.
And if you know a year ahead of time that you want to get your significant other something special for Valentine's Day, then that's basically a drop in a bucket.
Yeah. That's a lot of money to throw down for a Wednesday. Just saying. That's the end of
Yeah.
it.
Well, but Valentine's Day is the 14th of February. It's not specifically on a Wednesday.
No. This 2018. Remember?
No, I know, but but even then, this person should have been smart enough to figure out that this article might be referenced in the future when Valentine's Day isn't on Wednesday anymore.
Number 6. It creates an unrealistic fantasy.
As defined by who and with what criteria?
Want me to read why?
Yes.
Okay. If your partner isn't the kind of person who showers you with lavish gifts and romantic dinners the other 364 days of the year, expecting that person to turn into some kind of rom-com hero simply because it's February 14th is not realistic. I won't lie, that's actually a valid point.
Okay, but the flip side of that is why, like, if you want someone who's going to be romantic, select for someone who's going to be romantic when you're in the dating pool.
Yeah. Although
If romance is important to you, then find somebody who's okay with being romantic.
um, the rom-com hero thing is kind of stupid because no one in a rom-com is a good person, really.
No. Yeah, none of them are. But point being, this is again a question of your personal choices as the person selecting for this. Like,
Um,
if if you want somebody who's going to be romantic, then you should seek out someone who's going to be romantic. And if you actively choose someone who's not romantic, then don't bitch at them for not being romantic because you reap what you sow in romance in particular. It's like if you want somebody who has a particular set of qualities, then search for someone with those particular sets of qualities. If you settle for somebody who doesn't have those qualities, then you can't blame the other person for what you chose to settle for. But I forgot the basic premise that this person operates under, which is I'm just a passive acceptor of whatever happens to me. I don't have any choices to make in my life.
Uh, uh, yeah, moving on. I'm sorry, I was trying to think if I had anything to say, but I don't. So,
Mhm.
there isn't actually an angel that flies around and shoots people with love arrows that we can see, at least to our limited human perception.
Well, yeah, there's that, and
It's not
also,
an angel. It's well, I feel like there's some leeway. I feel like there are multiple entities of well,
yeah, there are various different entities who are responsible for various different kinds of love and so on and so forth. But I could be a massive dick and say, actually, there are. If you want one, just summon it up. But most people most people don't A, believe in magic, B, know about evocation, and C, would be willing to go through the effort of summoning them up in the first place.
okay.
So
I also wouldn't. I honestly don't think invoking a entity of love is a good thing.
I mean, it depends on what you want, and it depends on the entity. But yeah,
Well, to be fair, with with the experience you've had with otherworldly entities, I don't think any any type of thing with other entities is a good thing. To be fair,
yeah. But to be fair, my the entities I chose to bargain with are not exactly what you'd call compassionate entities.
fair enough. And also, you were an idiot. You know, stupid decision. So you reap what you sow.
And and further, to be fair, I don't regret my decision. I regret being stupid enough to not see the twist coming because it was who it was, but you know that's mostly down to my lack of experience when dealing with such entities, I think.
Yeah.
But you live and you learn.
Yeah.
But I never expected her to be compassionate because she's not her sister.
Um. Bruno.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't think he shoots love arrows.
Yeah, I from what I expect from what I understand about like love gods and things, they just sort of are it, and or are like the organizing intelligence of love. So
I
th-
what I, what I,
they can just like manipulate love in its raw state,
right. I
effectively.
do think that yeah, obviously that, but what I meant is like they don't have like a concentrated thing of love to place people in the path to connect with.
Yeah, like, yeah. I don't think there's an artifact of, at least not in Cupid's case. I don't think there is like an artifact of arrows.
Yeah. Anyway,
Though I'd actually physically have to look that up, I think, because who knows? There might actually be an artifact somewhere. It's the arrows of Cupid.
if there is, I would probably destroy it.
Yeah, I don't think I would let you, because like just in general, the destruction of magical artifacts is not something I can be okay with ever.
Okay, at the very least, lock it up and throw it away somewhere that no one could get to.
See, I'd go the opposite route. I'd give it to everybody.
No, that's like
That
giving
way, no,
a love potion. You know someone's gonna abuse it. You know it.
I tend to be of the opinion that the solution to power is to to equalize it by giving it to everybody.
I don't know, man. It's just
Yes, there are people who are going to use it stupidly, but those people kind of deserve to reap what they sow with regards to that.
I told you what I'd do with the Death Note. Okay, imagine any type of supernatural power that some random person could use, probably stupidly. Imagine my feeling on it.
See, and even with the Death Note, there's at least some value, in my opinion, to giving everybody at least one page of the Death Note to use for whatever they feel like.
I'm not giving a single scrap of paper from the Death Note to a fucking serial killer. Okay. Plus, it's people. And like as optimistic as I am, I know a lot of stupid people are out there, and a lot of people will be fucking dying.
Yeah, but those people are gonna be stupid regardless, and I'd rather give everyone the opportunity to be on equal footing than give no one the opportunity to be on better footing.
Again, it's just those kind of powers do not belong on the mortal realm, to be honest.
See, I'm of the opposite opinion. I think everybody deserves to have the opportunity for power. Whether they choose to use it well or not is their business, but
Yeah, and a lot of people will pay for the consequences of those people abusing that power. That's my problem.
yeah, but that just implies the people who do know how to use it correctly should use it more effectively.
And this is where we differ.
In other words, work smarter, not harder.
That is very generous for the human race.
Well, it's like the spiritual equivalent of evolution. If if the people who are stupid are going to misuse the powers they're given, then they will deselect themselves out of the gene pool but quickly. And the people who are good at using that power will survive long enough to pass on their genes, and then eventually humanity at large will become better and more advanced.
Anyway, so any notion that you or your partner will suddenly become different people on Valentine's Day is more likely to lead to an argument than a love fest. Okay? I don't know what to say there.
Say that again.
So any notion that you or your partner will suddenly become different people on Valentine's Day is more likely to lead to an argument than a love fest.
Okay, yes, but you shouldn't be. Why are you with somebody who makes you miserable anyway? This again strikes me as you made the wrong choice and are now blaming the universe at large for your wrong choice.
I don't think that's whatever. Anyway, moving on. Shows like Bachelor and Store displays seem to imply that everyone believes that romance means hearts and flowers and mushy romance on February 15th. Some people simply aren't romantic that way. Marie Hartwell Walker, Ed D. wrote on Psych Central.
Okay, but you have the power as the person in the relationship to select for someone who is romantic. If you want somebody who is romantic, then select for romance. If you are okay with somebody who's not romantic, then you don't get to blame them for not being romantic because you didn't select for the quality of romance.
Mm-hmm.
Take responsibility for your own choices and make informed choices where possible. Instead of acting like you're just a passive victim of the universe itself, like a leaf on the freaking wind.
Moving on.
Yeah.
If you're someone who just doesn't get it, especially if you do, it's not necessarily personal. Maybe that your guy or gal is preoccupied, has bad memories associated with the day, or doesn't philosophically go along with a holiday that was made.
One assumes you would know this about them ahead of time, unless you literally just never have conversations with them, in which case that kind of makes you a dickhead and a bad
Don't.
love interest.
I was. Can I finish? Can I finish the sentence?
Hmm?
Okay. Well, no, you cut me off because I wasn't done reading the sentence.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, let me start over just so I have full context.
Hmm.
If you're with someone who just doesn't get it, and especially if you do, it's not necessarily personal. It may be that your guy or gal is preoccupied, has bad memories associated with the day, or doesn't philosophically go along with a holiday that was made big by the card companies. That does kind of sound personal, though, for the partner.
And again, these kind of conversations one assumes would have come up long before you'd be in the relationship with them in the first place, unless you are in the habit of being in relationships with people you just never talk to, which again implies that you're a bad uh, love interest. Because you should, like, basic relationship 101 shit is you should talk to the people you're in a relationship with about, like, meaningful philosophical shit.
Right. Moving on.
Hmm.
Number 7, it reinforces outdated gender roles.
I cannot. I mean, I knew this was social justice trash, but I didn't think they were going to go this route.
I mean,
But
all
here we are.
so far it's been general stupidity.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, but, sweetheart, gender roles exist for a reason because human evolutionary psychology made it so.
Also, they I don't know if it really enforces anything. Like Valentine's Day enforces gender roles. I don't think that it does.
If anything, it's more the consequence of gender roles than an enforcement mechanism for them.
Um,
It's kind of a reaction to gender roles rather than an enforcement.
um, okay. If the above reasons are proof enough that Valentine's Day is a toxic holiday, consider this. The American University in Cairo noted that the Valentine's Day emphasizes outdated gender norms by putting pressure on men to make a grand romantic gesture and women to prepare to receive the perfect gift. Oh, it's not like the. I mean, I'm pretty sure women also do
Yeah.
things like make the big.
It's not like people enjoy, like, expressing romance for people or anything.
Yeah, again, that really just again, it's a case by case scenario with every couple.
And I hate this. I really do hate this person because this person seems to think everything about Valentine's Day is meant to, like, oppressively victimize her or something.
It's,
Like, as though there's no meaningful reason to choose to celebrate Valentine's Day of your own free will or anything.
I mean, I don't celebrate it, obviously, for reasons I've obviously stated.
Well, and also the fundamental thing of not having anybody celebrate it for is the
Yeah,
other
okay,
thing.
that's fair, but also like again, I just don't see it. To me, I don't see the point.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a basic thing. Not basic, but that's just the thing of mine. You know,
Mm-hmm.
anyone else celebrates it, that's fine. Well, whatever. You do you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like again, it's what about like same sex couples too? Like how do gender roles fit into that?
I was just about to say that. Like, is this an implication that gay people don't do Valentine's Day or something? Like,
Oh, please. Okay. I'm gonna need a pass. Don, I am gonna need a pass. I'm gonna say something.
I bequeath unto you the gay pass.
Um, I'm pretty sure the gays have cornered the market on Valentine's Day in the last decade.
And let's be honest, when it comes to over the top romantic expressions, no nobody expresses romance like gay people express romance. I'm I,
You,
I'm sorry, straight people, but yeah, not to be a complete hipster about it, but on the behalf of the entire gay community, quote unquote, y'all straight motherfuckers are basic when it comes to romance.
honestly, as a straight guy, I gotta respect. I gotta respect you guys when it comes to Valentine's Day because you actually like when it comes to big extravagant stuff. You drama queens got it.
I mean that there's a reason why. Yeah, even though not every gay person is flamboyant,
I,
there's a high preponderance of gay people who are flamboyant.
yeah.
So we 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 are the queens of over the top romantic expressions.
Yeah,
It is
but
what we do.
yeah, like again, are you not taking into account that same-sex couples are a thing? Like, how do gender roles fit into that? I mean, like, I'm sure you can make an argument there, sure.
Well, but that's the ironic thing is that this whole gender role nonsense that Brandy is coming out with. You can you can tell it's not a arbitrary social construct because gay people themselves fit into the gender role dichotomy. Like the gender role that's usually occupied in straight couples by the man and the woman is equally reflected in gay couples by the top and the bottom. Essentially, the active masculine participant and the passive feminine participant. That like the the top needs to protect the bottom, and the bottom needs to serve the top. Like this is old as freaking ancient Greece and ancient Rome, at least that we are aware of. And yeah, gay people have their own specific gender roles as well, and they mirror the gender roles of straight people. It just so happens that because they're a same-sex couple, it's not dichotomized along the lines of gender. It's dichotomized along the lines of masculinity and femininity instead. Like um, the more masculine person in the relationship tends to be the man in the relationship, and the more feminine person tends to be the woman, air quotes, in the relationship, whether they're the same sex or not.
Right. Anyway, you know,
Yeah.
basically, it's every sexist romantic comedy you've ever seen. So just every romantic comedy ever. I feel like I broke Dalton. Dalton?
Yeah.
Uh, did you catch what I said?
Uh, it cut you off at sexist.
Okay. Basically, it's every sexist romantic comedy you've ever seen, and I said, so basically every romantic comedy ever.
And I hate to break it to you, Brandy, but romantic comedies are not sexist.
Mm,
They are stories set up in the way they are because the people who view romantic comedies like them that way. The one
shit.
women generally want to be swept off their feet, and men generally want to do the sweeping.
Yeah.
And unless you get really fucked up in the internalized misogyny or internalized um, sexism bullshit concept, and think that a person's own desires are oppressing them or something, then it makes no freaking sense.
Um, Also, rom coms are just generally shit.
This is also true.
As much as, and again, I say this as I might need an extra gay pass.
I hereby bequeath unto you the gay pass.
Uh, Honestly, must suck for you. Suck for you. Suck for you, Dalton, because gays are usually big fans of the rom coms.
This is also true. Gay romance novels are less bad than
Why is there?
rom-com movies, though.
Yeah. So that is your lesson here, folks. Books are better than TV. Start reading books again.
Although, to be fair, if you are gay and you're looking into gay romance novels, be prepared for a lot of hyper-masculine jock characters falling in love with extremely femi nerd characters, because that is probably the most common trope in gay fiction is the buff muscle-bound jock protecting and falling for the weak feminine nerd character.
Wow, I couldn't imagine who would want to do that. Like honestly, in all my years, I cannot imagine who would want to read a story about a buff jock character and a little nerd.
Yes, the obvious hello it's me thing hangs on the air there a little bit.
Like seriously, who wants to read such a story? Like show of hand, who wants to do that?
Ahem. Raise his hand.
But yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Ads generally show that women care a lot about Valentine's Day, while men are prone to forgetting this holiday, inevitably angering their partner, which requires them to make a grand and expensive gesture. Ian Morrison, assistant professor of sociology, told the American University in Cairo. Um, See, I could kind of understand the forgetting the holiday thing because, well, again, in the last couple of years, it just feels like every day kind of blends together,
Mm-hmm.
just because of being stuck in a house for. And this thing kind of goes double for me because I've spent like the last few years that way too.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even a little before COVID. So, yeah, like again, days blend together so much that you constantly like if it wasn't for a calendar or something, I honestly would forget what day it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes, it's just also like if you're in a cycle of monotony for so long, again, just the date, like so many factors on why a guy would forget a holiday.
Well, it's also that I think romance lends itself more to femininity because femininity tends to be a little bit more extravagant.
True. Um, I was just looking at the more practical reason.
And also women tend to be more emotional because again, femininity tends to centralize emotion, whereas masculinity tends to centralize what people do rather than what people like feel or think.
Generally. Yeah, I got nothing really else to say to that. So, uh, thus, the commercialization of the holiday reinforces and relies on tradition, heteronormative understanding of gender roles and characteristics. This guy's a professor, no, assistant professor of sociology.
And he's spouting social justice gobbledygook.
Honestly, I don't know why I was surprised.
hmm And this is why academia is now a joke, and at best a joke, at worst actively fucking counterproductive.
All right, moving on.
Yep.
Number 8, last one. Oh my god, reinforces the patriarchy.
I can't believe
I
that we've.
maybe it's because it's been so long that I've heard that word.
hmm
I should have seen it coming. I should have seen it coming.
hmm
Okay. If you've never explored the historical context behind Valentine's Day, get ready to be horrified. It's actually part of a patriarchal conditioning that permeates our culture. Um,
No,
oh wow, you're gonna hate the next thing, Dawn. But please have your thought.
you just got through with saying how women prefer Valentine's Day and men tend to forget it. The reason being is because largely Valentine's Day was about men courting and proving themselves to women because women were considered valuable, and men are usually considered valuable only based on what they do rather than what they are, feel, or think. It's
Mm-hmm.
one of the reasons I fucking hate traditionalism. Because women are valued for what they feel, what they are, feel, and think at the expense of what they do, and men are valued for what they do at the expense of what they are, feel, and think.
Right. Moving on.
hmm
It is mainly about fertility and the promise of offspring, which secures the society and the city state. That Vasiliki Katoni, assistant professor of English and comparative literature, told the American University in Cairo. Okay, so that again,
Everyone finds fertility to be useful. Everyone.
yeah,
Because I don't know if you're aware of this, but it kind of takes two to tango in regards to the whole offspring thing.
and also kind of need that in order to survive as a species.
There's that too.
Yeah.
It the the ancient, firm but fair rule of evolution is you don't fuck, you don't get added to the gene pool.
Um, yeah, it has nothing to do with patriarchy at all. Like literally, look up Lupercalia and what was the other one?
The Veneralia.
Veneralia. Thank you.
Also, speaking of the Veneralia was the festival of Venus, who was a goddess, which
Yeah,
again centers femininity and femaleness at the heart of this whole rigmarole, more so than masculinity.
yeah. again, if anything, it's just a celebration of something that is kind of practical for the survival of the species.
Yeah. We're a social species that thrives off of social connection, and we need love in order to feel attraction, so as
And
to
again,
fuck and pass down our genes so that we can propagate the species. This
yeah,
really isn't as hard as you're making it.
this is because offspring means citizens, and in case of male offspring, it means soldiers. It also means continuity of the family name and familial wealth that will be passed on to the new generation.
I can't believe you're framing soldiers as a privileged position rather than a service position.
Dude,
Because the thing about soldiers, right, is that they die. It's what soldiers do. Like 80% of all soldiers throughout history have died in battle, because a soldier is not valuable as a person. A soldier is valuable for what they do. And if you can't distinguish yourself to become like an officer or a general or something, then you basically have all the value of cannon fodder. And yet somehow in the feminist conception of the patriarchy, being a soldier is considered to be a privileged position, not a service position. It's completely bass fucking backwards.
mm,
As an example, let's say a war starts tomorrow in America, and women are prevented from fighting on the front lines of said war by, say, doing what the Muslims do and forcing women to stay inside at all times. Well, let's say in the course of this war for America, 70% of all the men die. But but 90% of all the women remain alive throughout this conflict. Who is benefited more by this state of affairs? Answer: the women, because the women didn't have to fight and they get to stay alive. Whereas the men, large swaths of the men, died in the interim. And yes, the remaining men might be given a little bit more clout because they managed to survive a freaking war, but women get that same level of clout from surviving a freaking war just gratis because none of them had to fight in it, whereas men had to fight and die in it in order to gain that kind of prestige. Because again, women are valued inherently because of what they are, feel, and think, and men are valued only based on what they do, and if they can't do anything to distinguish themselves significantly, they are basically cannon fodder. So you can take this patriarchy conception of yours and shove it up your ass.
moving on.
Yep.
If there were ever a reason to shun Valentine's Day, this is the best one I've ever heard. Instead, just celebrate Wednesday with some nasty woman wine and gather your besties to help out the resistance by doing your part to dismantle our toxic culture, because Valentine's Day is actually pretty toxic.
Oh, fuck you. So much fuck you. Valentine's Day is largely for women because men want to prove themselves to women. And yet you can look at men striving to prove themselves to you, and you can think of yourself as somehow victimized by that.
Right. Other than that, I think we are going to call it here because it is 11:19.
Yeah, and we're both very tired, so
Yeah.
good night, everybody. We'll pick up where we left off next week.
Yeah. So with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
A happily, lovely, and romantic fuck off to all of you.